talking head saying, if you didn't have permission, you look for that. But I want to tell that jackass, 1 week into office, must be less than a week into office, Madonna and a couple other Hollywood figures organized 1 million people to march on Washington, to march on Trump. And they had this comedian, this redhead comedian, and she walked with a severed head. She walked with a severed Trump head. And the reason for me raising that is free speech is just that. Free speech. Free speech is free speech. You can't be, as Gary Griffith like to say, you can't be half pregnant. You can't watch the mourners at Abu Bakr's funeral in their numbers, standing foot to foot, shoulder to shoulder, and you're not going there with tear gas. You can't watch the people in Beatham, and I'm not saying that you should have. You can't watch the people in Beatham, light the Beatham on fire, and not running there with tear gas. But some aunties and uncles and mummies and daddies and children, a fellow named Dion Jeffers, and I'm not going to lash out at Dion Jeffers. I know Dion Jeffers is a PNM supporter, and I know that he wants the best for his party. So I'm going to continue having an exchange with him. But the reason I call in his name tonight is because he's a bit of a media personality. Dion Jeffers is the fellow who does the cartoons in some of those newspapers, the Trinidad one-picture cartoons as spoof politicians. And Dion's response to my post yesterday, I posted Penelope Beckles, Amory Brown, Simon de Nobrega, and their partners in the cabinet gas little children, tear gas little children. Now somebody asked, what Penelope Beckles have to do with that? I'll tell you, the government is upheld by all of the people that make up the government. If today Rowley had found out that his entire cabinet was disgusted with him and that they were going to write the president withdrawing their support for him, he would no longer be prime minister. The law is clear. He would have, I think it's 14 days. I don't have the constitution in front of me, but he would have 14 days to either resign, step away, and let his party support a new prime minister, or he could dissolve the parliament. His last and final act, he could dissolve the parliament. But I did not see a single post, comment, release from anybody in the PNM, not the Women's League, not any ministers. I didn't see any comments from any of them saying what happened yesterday in the Savannah was heavy-handed, overreach, violent, vile, that you should never have. Now again, I know and I see the UNC hand behind the pushback movement. I do. I know that a lot of them are funded by the UNC. So it's coming down to being a UNC PNM standoff. But is that what we want to use our police service for? Are the men and women of our police service going to be reduced to PNM police and UNC police? Because that's not good. That's not good for our country. I said today it was barbaric. And I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. Did the police use those people in the Savannah as a training exercise? Did they use that pushback gathering as a training exercise to test their ability to deploy tear gas and to disperse a crowd? Now that crowd, if you had left them alone, gather your troops by Napa, where it was, and stand up. You're there. And watch. And observe. And let them chant, sing, pray. Rowley must go, Rowley must go. Let them chant it till they hoarse. And then they would have dispersed and went home. Because at some point, and this is what Dion Jeffers don't understand, because he said to me, what do I think about people bringing children to a protest? I don't think the parents who brought those children to the Savannah thought that they were coming to a violent protest. I do not believe that at all. So this idea that parents were using children as shields is nonsense. It's a non-starter. This was not that. This was not that. This is a bunch of Trinidadians from different walks of life, want to support different things, want their free speech, and the pushback movement is appealing to that. The pushback movement is trying to swell their ranks and their numbers. So they will call out the groups that for ivermectin, and the groups that for sunshine, and the groups that just for us gathering and being able to walk around in the savannah. And all those people standing up together is not an organized mob. And if there are elements within the organization that wanted to act out violently, it doesn't mean that the people who gathered there, the mummies and the daddies and the uncles and the aunties and the grandpas and the grannies and the kids, would have joined them. It doesn't mean that at all. So you didn't have to react. And every video that you see, and everything that they try to paint as a response was caused by the police. Now this law that we have, that you have to seek police permission to protest, is the stupidest law of all. I think you should amend it to say you could alert the police that you're having a gathering, a march, or a protest. But you shouldn't have to get permission to gather. And any real democracy wouldn't require you to ask for permission to gather. You're supposed to be able to gather. Now, if you come out in public with concealed weapons and you're creating a disturbance, the police have to take action. Of course, you will get arrested and charged. But not every group. I watch parents circle that whole savannah. White Trinidadians from white middle-class Trinidad circle the savannah with signs about no mass before class. And they were standing up for an issue that mattered to them. Why didn't they ask them? It was the same thing. Just a different position, but it's a protest. They stood up there for hours. They encouraged people to honk their horns. The public got energized. But nobody came out and pelt a stone and break a window anywhere. So you didn't need to tear gas them. If this country does not investigate this incident, then we're not a real country. And no, this shouldn't distract us from Paula Gopiscoon's son Adrian and Faris Al-Rawi's involvement. But the fact that Faris is still the Attorney General tonight, having not been made to stand down while an investigation takes place, shows that this government is lawless. And again, not a word from Penelope, not a word from Amory. The PNM is a lineup of people who think themselves in the British monarchy. If the king dead and the queen becomes the monarch, she's there until her eldest son, or supposed to be there until her eldest son, but I think it changed for this queen. But everybody who has a title in England knows how many people have to die or abdicate for them to become monarch of Britain. They know. That if the king die and the queen die, the two princes die and their children die and this one die and that cousin die, I am a third cousin once removed. If these 47 people die, I am monarch. In the PNM, there is a line of people. Faris, Stewart, Penelope, Amory. Now, Penelope and Amory are from the old guard. Faris and Stewart represents the 1% that fully own the PNM now. Now, the old guard appeals to the voter base. Without the 1% money and without the voter base, the PNM don't exist. Those two things, the black voter base, is who Amory Brown and Penelope Beckles aim their politics at. However, the power of the 1% to control the PNM through its leaders have been demonstrated time and time again. Most recently with the appointment of Fitzgerald Hines as the candidate for Laventille West, despite the fact that 99% of the party groups had chosen the previous member of parliament to remain. So, all of them who are afraid to rock the boat can't speak out. They might tell you, if you bounce them up over a doubles box, boy, that was some shit about. But everybody who is silent, Brian Manning, has to have agreed that tear gassing is okay. Because his government didn't speak out. There's been no investigation launched. No heads have rolled. Nobody's been fired. So it looks like we've weighed the people who were tear gassed, and we found that it was okay to tear gas them. So Paula May Weeks, the Chamber of Commerce, the Catholic Church, nobody needs to speak out. And that's cool. Hear what I'm about to say next, eh? That's cool. But when the shit fall on you, and you look for people to stand up with you, to say that this is wrong, again, I'll keep talking about when high-class Trinidad marched for Carrington Scott and Sargomes for having done to them what happens in the poor communities every week. And they don't get a reaction from the Attorney General snatching necks in line to hang and hanging them. So what are we saying in Trinidad and Tobago? What are we saying? That there are different laws for different levels? Let's say it outright. Let's say it up front. So that police know, lawyers know, DPP know, judges know, different colors, different classes, different laws, different application. Let us say that. Let us put it in the book. Let's go in the parliament and write it as a law. And let us get, like how they have a chart for the police to check tint. Let us get a chart for them to be able to check which color along the line you could be, that it is okay for you to get away with whatever you get away with. Or this could happen to you and nobody could care. And what upset Trinidad the most, the politicians in Trinidad the most, what pissed Rowley and Faris off the most is the size of the response that we got for Andrea. And it sent all of their talking heads and their, you know, I really don't want to, we're in an election cycle right now, and I want to make sure that these things are taken in the correct spirit. There was a journalist who came out and said, why all of this for Andrea and for nobody else? And I had to come and do a live video and say, because we've been waiting for you as the media for a hue and a cry. We were waiting for the parliament for a hue and a cry. We were waiting for the cabinet for a hue and a cry. We were waiting on the government for a hue and a cry. We were waiting on high society, civil society, the established order. When none of them gave us the hue and the cry, we stood up. And stood up in our tens of thousands and made a point. And I'm saying this There will be 9 nights of candle lighting for Andrea, again, from the date of the anniversary of her death, to again raise awareness to the government, the cabinet, and the parliament that this petition that was signed by 128,500 people is a valid expression of the will of the people, and that we want what we've asked for to be dealt with. We want the PH taxis to be regulated. We want the license plates issued by licensing office to have RFID chips, and to be issued only by a specific organization of state, so that fake license plates can't fool people. We want pepper spray law, not this nonsense that Faris, because you could go in Walmart and buy different flavors and different colors of pepper spray and walk out with it and defend yourself. We want a commission of inquiry into the criminal justice system in Trinidad and Tobago. And we want those things because we want to be able to protect all of our people, all of our women going forward, regardless of race, color, creed, or class. And that was the position taken by all of us who joined together to form the Candlelight Movement. And I want to know why, as a society, we are so broken that we do not see that all of our people deserve the same respect, the same care and consideration. I will not march with the pushback movement. I will not. And people call me all the time and ask me. I agree with their right to protest. I agree with their right to free speech. I agree with their right to march and gather. I disagree with what is behind it and who is behind it and what they're doing or how they're going about it or what they hope to accomplish. That is my position. So no, I won't be siding with them. But I want to say that I can still stand and say that tear gassing them for their right to protest is wrong. And I will quote the saying that says, I may not agree with what you say, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it. And that remains my position. The Progressive Empowerment Party today created more history by nominating a candidate for a by-election in Debe South. And we, the members of the Progressive Empowerment Party, are committed to a proper showing at that election, and we promise the people of Debe South, if elected, our candidate come councillor would give you the best representation that you've ever had in that region. Our candidate is a young, intelligent man. He has strong family ties, and his family has strong community ties. They are very involved in their different religions. He is part of a family that is Hindu, Muslim, and Christian. So all the people that seek representation could get representation under his watch. We need you, the people of Debe South, to stand together with us and to help us bring this victory home. If you give us, the Progressive Empowerment Party, the chance to create history, we would have been the first smaller party to have accomplished what we are setting out to do. And that would change the way politics is done in this country on both sides of the political divide. We're going to need your help. We're going to need you to come out and support. We're going to need you to help us make calls. We're going to need you to help us mobilize the community. We need team captains, street captains. We need people to assist on our walkabouts. We have a nice group and gathering of people, but we need more. We need your financial support. If you're willing to help us financially, please reach out to Felicia Holder, 769-4590. And if you want to come on board and to help in the community, to help with the election campaign, 796-8172 is Satish's number, and party organizer, and for this campaign manager, Esther Cruikshank. You could reach on 357-8016. Yeah? So please come aboard and join us and help us make history for all of TNT. Until tomorrow, stay safe. Trinidad and Tobago.